The next video is the next installment for Dancing with the Dark, and we're up to Sarah Ash, Timeswitch. Open the front door of number 3, the circus bath, and for a moment you stand, blinking on the threshold of the 18th century. Marble pillars, walls a delicate shade of Georgian green, an elegant sweep of staircase of glistening polished wood. Yet behind this gracious facade lies concealed the world of the servant, the service stair of 104 stone steps from the basement to the attic, and in the dusty basement a locked door encrusted with cobwebs, rumoured to lead to the undercellar, a vast unlit labyrinth which stretches beneath the circus. I was 9 when Miss Wharton invited me to tea to see her dolls. Exquisite china dolls dated from her childhood in the Victorian reign. She had other treasures too. Inlaid Italian cabinets with secret compartments which flew open when concealed springs were activated, samplers, delicate painted fans, feather fans, carved ivory fans. On the walls hung dark-daubed oil paintings in gilded frames she had studied in Paris, she told me. I have long since forgotten what the eccentric elderly lady who lived in the basement and the bookish little girl who lived in the attic flat of the circus house found to talk about, except one thing which slipped so innocently into our conversation that at first I was not sure I'd heard right. It was often to be discovered in this very room. Sometimes she sensed it passing through, at other times it moved up and down the passageway outside. Once she had even come upon it in that very chair beside me. I remember staring transfixed at the antique chair as if her visitor might have left some visible trace. Slowly I began to realize it was no living companion, but a ghost. A shadow slipped across the hallway. A trick of the light? I left her flat, constantly glancing behind me as I climbed the 104 stairs to our flat, conscious of a chill draught that had seemed to issue from behind the cobweb-locked door to the undercellar. My brother briskly dismissed my story of ghosts and hauntings. Miss Wharton was probably lonely and had invented a companion for herself. A shadow flickers, a wind-twitched candle shadow on the edge of the eye seeing. But now I sensed I was no longer alone when I climbed the stairs. Between each bare landing hung large mirrors which reflected the staircase behind me, and when it grew dark there were time switches to illume the stairwell. Winter afternoons were the worst. My great terror was that the time switch would go out halfway between landings, plunging me into dusty twilight, trapped between past and present. Only once, I saw something. A shadow, a moving shadow, nothing more. Yet that shadow left me with a lingering taint of darkness. I felt the echoes of some past unrecorded tragedy that still resonated in the dusty stairwell concealed behind the Georgian elegance. A year or so later we moved away. The morning I saw the Pickford's van arriving, I felt as if a suffocating shroud had lifted from my shoulders. I almost danced on my way to school. I still revisit number 3, the circus, in dreams. It is no longer a place of childhood terror, but the house of my imagination, full of strange and wonderful rooms in which mysteries reveal themselves. A powerhouse for a writer. I suppose I owe a debt of gratitude to Miss Wharton and her invitation to afternoon tea, but it would take more than a cup of tea to persuade me to return to the basement on a twilight winter's afternoon. I fear I'm not as fit as I was at 9 to race the time switches and stay one step ahead of the dark. And that ends that installment for Dancing with the Dark.